Hey, it's Tito, Jeff Thitoff here with you for the Buckeye Blitz. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're on FanStream Sports, powered by DSP Media. Follow me on Twitter at FitHappens. Lots to talk about these next couple of days. But first, I want to go back to the spring game, what happened in that for Ohio State. The quarterbacks, of course, drew most of the looks, and Julian Sayin did nothing to make me think he won't be the starter come August 30th against Texas. Sayin had admittedly had a rough go of it like the Student Appreciation Day the previous Saturday, and then Sayin comes out in this game and just looked at, from everybody who watched the Student Appreciation Day to now, a much different quarterback. He was 17 of 24 for 175 yards in the spring game. Each of the first three drives he was out there, it was an offense versus defense thing. So all the quarterbacks got reps as the Scarlet team playing against the Gray team, what they called them, which was the defense for Ohio State. But Sayin had touchdowns all three of his first three drives. Lincoln Keenholz also looked good. Keenholz started off slowly. He's the one who's looked better in camp from what observers have told me. But he ended up going 12 of 18 for 158 yards and a couple of touchdowns. And then the freshman, Tavion St. Clair, true freshman, he got in as well. He had the only interception he threw today. Only two interceptions that were thrown that day were by him. And he rallied after that. He finished 11 of 15 for 116 yards and the one touchdown at the very end of the game to Phillip Bell on the game's final play. So the quarterbacks combined went 40 of 57 for 449, 4 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. They weren't allowed to run. They weren't allowed to get tackled and things like that. The defense was very basic. They stayed in just a basic coverage. They only ran a couple of different coverages, a couple of different schemes, all they did. So it was very much favorable on the offensive side. So other players that stood out, though, in the game, freshman running back Bo Jackson. Boy, I tell you, that guy, he scored the third touchdown of the game. And he looked really good. Bo Jackson, man, I'm not saying he's going to be the starter because Sam Williams, Dixon, and C.J. Donaldson both are the real deal. Jackson finished with 13 carries for 88 yards and a touchdown. And then Williams Dixon had 11 for 64. C.J. Donaldson, the big transfer from West Virginia, he had 4 carries for 35 yards and a touchdown. He's going to be a factor. It's just a question of how much he's going to play. It's not last year. 2 years ago, we had a true number one with Travion. Last year, we had a 1A and a 1B with Travion and Quinshon Judkins. And then this year, though, I think you're going to see a lot more running backs rotating around and splitting the carries in that one. I think Jackson, Williams, Dixon, and Donaldson all will do that. Mylan Graham looked really good, 4 catches, 104 yards, and a touchdown. As far as, not much for Jeremiah Smith this game. Carnell Tate didn't do a whole lot either. But and then Brandon Ennis had 2 catches for 35 yards in the game. So the tight end Max Clare, by the way, the kid from Purdue who transferred over, he looks really good as well. He's going to be one of the better tight ends in the Big Ten again, like he was last year for Purdue. So. But anyway, all the tight ends looked really good in that game. So it looks to me, from what I can tell, the offensive line is pretty much set. I would be surprised if it wasn't Shabola at right guard, maybe Severville at right tackle. Hinsman will be the center. I love Carson Hinsman. And then Ethan Oninawa will be the left tackle. He's the transfer. And then Luke Montgomery. He's from Rice, by the way, Oninawa. And Luke Montgomery will probably be at left guard, but also Minnesota transfer Philip Daniels will be in the mix at right tackle as well. So let's now get to the defensive side of the ball. And a lot of guys on defense are gone. A lot of them came back last year and tried to win the Natty, which they did, and so many of them are gone. There's a lot of guys they've got to replace. The defensive line is where the biggest hole is going to be. The offensive line, I just mentioned, I love where we're at that. The offensive line last year, because there were so many injuries, key injuries, they had to shuffle around a lot of guys and play different positions, and a lot of guys that are back now got reps last year. Even though Ohio State's losing some key offensive linemen, obviously, I feel good about the group going into this year with the transfers that came in, and also just the fact who they've got coming back that got valuable experience last year. It's the opposite on defense. The defensive line is going to need some help. We use guys like Tyreek Williams, JTT, Ty Hamilton, Jack Sawyer. Lose those guys right there. That's a big group to replace, and they were a very important part of why this team was successful last year. Hero Canoe, he's transferred out, which was a surprise. He was expected to play a pretty large role this year, and he headed off to Texas. So why I get a chance to see him here in just a few months. So it'll take some time to see how that forms, how that will develop, but they've got guys, I'm excited about Edric Houston, Kenyatta Jackson Jr., Caden Curry. I'm excited about those guys, but they've got a lot of work to do. Jaden Fielding, the kicker, who last year had some tough moments. Turned out he was injured, never told anybody about it until much later, but he had those kickoff problems. I think it was like Michigan State, if I'm not mistaken. But he did well in the playoffs. He looked really good in the spring game as well. So, but they got to get a backup kicker somewhere, which should be fine. But other news for in men's basketball. Ohio State, Jake Diebler's already got Gabe Cupps, who transferred over here from Indiana, and he played in just 4 games this last season. He, as a freshman, he played quite a bit for Indiana, played a lot of games for Indiana. He is a former Mr. Basketball in Ohio. He is from down in the Dayton area. So they got him in. He's a 6'2" guard. He'll be able to score. And I guess they're going to need more scoring out of the backcourt from some of the guys in the backcourt as well. Adam Jardy from the Columbus Dispatch said that Kennard Davis came to Ohio State for a visit. He's a 6'6" junior, and Davis went from Southern Illinois. He played both forward and guard, but he averaged 16.3 points a game last season, 4.9 rebounds, and shot 37.6% from three-point land. I'll tell you why it's important in a minute. Also, Brandon Noel, Wright State transfer, 6'8" forward. He's in, averaged 19.7 rebounds a game, 35.8 from three. Christoph Tilley from Santa Clara. He's a German kid. He's 7 feet tall. He averaged 12.5 points, 4.9 rebounds, just 22 minutes a game last year. Ohio State obviously desperately needs rebounding, and Tilley and Noel should be able to provide that. I hope they can get this Davis kid, if they can get him in here, because the fact that he can shoot from 3 like that is important. Now, so you've got Davis, who shot 37.6 from 3. You've got Brandon Noel, who shot 35.8%. And then you got those 2 guys right there. Now, Diebler had only 1 player with the average more than 5.8 rebounds a game last year, and that was Devin Royal, who's coming back, which is why Tilley is important. Now I'll tell you why Davis and Noel are going to be important. So Davis, he shot 37.6% on 170 attempts from 3. That would have been 3rd among Buckeyes who attempted at least 53s last season. Noel's 35.8 would have been 3rd also. He had 106 attempts. The Buckeyes only had 3 players take more than 58 threes. Bruce Thornton, 42.4% is what he made. That was the best on the team. Mobley was 38.5. Micah Parrish was 35.6. So if they can get these guys in here, these shooters, and get them going, it's going to make Ohio State a much more potent offense, and you definitely need Tilley's rebounding. I'm excited to see what Tilley can do. You only played 22 minutes a game last year, but maybe you'll get more this year with Ohio State and get a chance to do more out there. Ohio State women got Tiana Todd as a transfer. So the fact they're getting a transfer, which is important for this team after they lost Cody McMahon. So McGuff getting another person in here. She's a 6-foot guard from Boston College, and she was 4th in the country last year in 3-point shooting at 45.9%. She made 67 of 146 attempts. Only 1 Buckeye made more than 34 threes last season, and that was Chance Gray, who went 70 for 201. So she has 1 year of eligibility left. She led Boston College with 13.8 points per game last season, also shot 89.3% of the free throw line, also very important. So, all right, that's it for today's Buckeye Blitz. Thanks so much for tuning in. And again, Fantasy Sports, powered by DSP Media. Download the app. It's free for Apple and Android users. And make sure you check us out. We are always adding new programming. And thanks so much for tuning in again. It Happens on Twitter.